Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Formex Essence 43 Splash. This watch is available from formexwatch.com for €1,650. The Essence 43 Splash is available in 4 colour options: sunset orange, baby blue, lavender purple and sunflower yellow respectively. Of the 4 colour options, I think this baby blue version is the best looking. Formex are producing the Essence 43 Splash in a limited production in the summer months of 2025 only, and then they will cease production. Formex are a well-established microbrand. They were founded in 1999 and they're based in Switzerland. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a cardboard watch box, which is housed inside this outer black cardboard box. As you can see on the lid to the outer box, we have the Formex emblem, Formex logo and Swiss-made watches. So I'll open the outer box, pull down the flap and withdraw the inner watch box and show it to you. So this is the watch box itself, black cardboard, and on the lid we have the emblem, Formex logo and Swiss-made watches. One removes the cardboard lid to the cardboard base, pulls down the flap, and in the base we have a compartment which houses the items I'll show you. The top portion is removable, which I'll show you. And as you can see, it's entirely made from cardboard. There's a cutout which houses a padded pillow cushion. Padded pillow cushion is upholstered with black velour fabric to a good standard, and it's a snug fit inside the cutout in the top portion. Therefore it does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping, but it's entirely made from cardboard, which is a production cost cutting measure. In the base we have a compartment and there's a ribbon beneath the items because this helps facilitate withdrawing the items. They are a snug fit inside the base and therefore it's hard to get them out, but by having this ribbon beneath you simply get good purchase on it with your index finger and thumb, lift up the ribbon and that helps you withdraw the items from the compartment. So although it's well executed in terms of its build quality, this is the kind of basic cardboard watch box one would expect with a low tier piece between €0 and €500 made in China. This does not say to me mid-tier Swiss made piece at €1,650. To clarify, 2 years ago I previously reviewed the Formex Essence 39, which is the 39mm version of the Essence. This is the 43 Splash version. That came in a solid black wooden watch box with a hinge lid, and the interior was fully upholstered with contrasting grey velour fabric to a high standard. It was a good quality solid wooden watch box, and yes, that did say to me mid-tier Swiss made piece, €1,650. This is a downgrade, and Formex have clearly done it in order to maximise profit margin per piece by reducing production costs per piece. And it really is disappointing to see a Swiss mid-tier brand, and they're a micro brand that's been established since 1999. So really this is greed, and it's disappointing to see reducing production costs in order to maximise profit margin. They should be upgrading from cardboard watch boxes to solid wooden watch boxes, not the reverse. So room for improvement. I'd like to see them go back to using the solid wooden watch boxes they were using 2 years ago. With regards to items, one gets this card. On the reverse it says welcome to Team Formex. It details the terms and conditions of the 30-day return policy. So to clarify, if you're unhappy with your Essence 43 Splash for any reason, within the first 30 days of ownership from the date of purchase, you can simply return the piece to Formex either for replacement with another piece or alternatively a full refund. So that's very good, and that's in addition to the 2-year international warranty. There's also a QR code you can scan with your Android or iPhone. That will download the owner's instruction manual in the form of a video. So you simply watch the video and it details the operation of the movement used, which is the Solita Caliber SW200-1 automatic, which is cost chronometer certified. One also gets this Formex branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth irrespective of the price point of a piece. One also gets this 1.2mm jeweler's screwdriver. Good attention to detail, anodized shank, and you can see it's signed with the Formex logo, and at the other end we also have the Formex emblem. Hardened tool steel tip, precision ground to 1.2mm, and it has a rotating head on it with knurling. Quality of the knurling is good, and it's a good quality jeweler's screwdriver, and it does suffice in resizing the bracelet screw pin links, so good to get that included. One also gets this booklet, as you can see, and you open it, and on the right hand side you can see it is the Certificate of Authenticity and International Warranty. Details the serial number of the piece, the caliber, movement number. It's checked. This confirms that it has passed quality control inspection, date of purchase and the model number, the full reference number of the Essence 43 Splash baby blue version. Again, we also have the QR code repeated. You can scan with your Android or iPhone, and that will download the owner's instruction manual video detailing the operation of the movement. And lastly, one also gets this, which is the most interesting accessory. This is the COSC chronometer certificate, and I want to give due credit to Formex here, because for a mid-tier piece at €1,650, it is unusual to see a mid-tier microband supply a COSC chronometer certificate with a COSC chronometer certified piece. So to clarify, the movement used in this piece is the Sellita Caliber SW200-1 automatic. It comes in the following grades: standard grade, elaborate grade, chronometer grade and top grade. So this uses the chronometer grade, and it's certified by COSC to be chronometer accurate between -4 and +6. So in this column of the certificates we have the daily rates. So we have the various positions. It's regulated and observed in 6 positions, and then we have the daily rates in seconds per day in this column, and then on the right hand column we have the variations of the daily rates, as you can see, and then on the reverse we have the most important numbers, which is the seconds per day. Now, the top one is the most important because this is the mean daily rate in the different positions. And as you can see, the mean daily rate in seconds per day in the various positions is minus 0.06 seconds per day. So to clarify, COSC chronometer limits are -4 to +6. This piece has attained minus 0.06 as the mean daily rate in the different positions, so it's well within the -4 to +6. COSC chronometer certified has the certificate to prove it, and minus 0.06 seconds per day is excellent accuracy. So the chronometer grade Sellita Caliber SW200-1 used in this piece is outstanding. Good to see the certification to prove it, to back it up. Now, as an alternative to the bracelet fitted to the piece, they also offer it on this nylon sailcloth weave fabric strap. As you can see, it also has a 2-button push deployant, which is made from stainless steel and also made from carbon fibre composite, which I'll show you. 2 pushers are made from carbon fibre composite, but the actual body is made from stainless steel. Solid 316L grade stainless steel outer portion, engraved with high definition engraving with a Formex emblem and also Formex text logo. Beautiful lustre to the brush satin finishing, and as you can see, nice large mirror polished bevels which mark the transition between the body and the flanks, which are brush satin finished. So it's well finished, no sharp edges, no sharp corners, and correctly profiled. Plenty of holes in the strap to allow for fine tuning the length. Now the other thing to note is they also offer the strap in 2 lengths, so you can see the difference. This length of the strap, which goes on one side, this will fit from a 6 to 7 inch wrist. If you have a larger 7 to 8 inch plus wrist, they also offer this longer strap, so you can use both lengths of strap with the 2-button push deployants. I'll open up and show it to you. So as you can see, the internals, rather than being made from solid 316L grade stainless steel, as one would expect, the internals of the clasp are moulded from carbon fibre composites. Now, this deployant, my concern about this carbon fibre composite is how brittle it is. It's not as durable and robust as solid 316L grade stainless steel. The benefit is that carbon fibre composite is lighter, that reduces the heft of the deployants, but I would argue that solid milled 316L grade stainless steel deployant class are not particularly heavy, they don't have a lot of heft, therefore it's negligible weight saving. But it does feature a patented ratcheting micro adjustment mechanism, so you can see in the left hand flank of the carbon fibre composite we have this small stainless steel pusher, and you press in the pusher, and what that does is that activates the ratcheting mechanism. So when it's fully deployed, you can now click it back in with micro adjustments. As you can see, loud audible clicks, and the ratcheting mechanism allows you to deploy it fully by pressing it in, and it deploys smoothly. But then when you push it back in, just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus, it clicks back in with ratcheting mechanism. Rather like the ratcheting mechanism on a micro adjustment clasp on a solid mill clasp. Now, when you close it, it snaps shut with a nice positive click, and the 2 carbon fibre composite pushers have nice firm spring-loaded action, but I would argue they should be made from stainless steel to match the body, but also because stainless steel is harder, and therefore with daily wear and tear, the pushers aren't going to wear down, going in and out of the body. Carbon fibre composite obviously is a more brittle material, and therefore it is going to wear down quicker, rather like plastic, and I think they've made a mistake. They should have used stainless steel for the pushers versus carbon fibre composite. My concern is the durability of it because it's more brittle. Now, in terms of the ratcheting mechanism, I think Formex have over-engineered this. really, a 2-button push deployment doesn't need to have a ratcheting mechanism. This is not a better alternative than just simply using a buckle and tang, because the buckle and tang is lower profile. You can see the problem with all of this mechanism, we've got the curvature of the carbon fibre composite, which is thick, and then we've got 2 layers of sailcloth weave fabric strap, and they're lined with leather, which is genuine leather, which is good, it's nice and smooth, but the problem is all of that adds thickness. What we've got here, if you look at the side profile of it, we've got 3 layers. We've got sailcloth weave nylon, which has leather backing, so it's a thick strap. Then we've got this curved profile to the actual deployment itself, which is carbon fibre composite, that's the second layer. Then we've got a third layer, which is the strap again, sailcloth weave with leather. And just look at the thickness. This adds a lot of bulk. And the truth is, this is not comfortable. This does not enhance the comfort level, the feel-good factor, or the functionality. Yes, it's good to have a 2-button push deployment, but really this ratcheting mechanism inside with the stainless steel pusher, it does not really benefit, because the truth is, when one sizes a deployment strap or a deployment clasp on a strap, to get the perfect fit, you don't need to adjust it with on-the-fly adjustment as per a bracelet when the wrist expands, because with a deployment or a buckle and tang, you simply select the next hole, either tighter or looser. You really don't need on-the-fly adjustment with a strap. They are quick and easy to adjust. A buckle and tang is simpler, it's reliable, and most importantly, it's lower profile than all of this bulk, the 3 layers: strap, deployment, strap. Far too bulky. This is overcomplicated. Problem is the curvature is also too much. Even on a small 6 to 7 inch wrist, you can see the curvature of the carbon fibre composite. Now the problem is this is not flexible, it's stiff. And if this curvature doesn't fit your wrist, the problem is it's never going to sit correctly. You're going to have a large gap beneath the deployment and also your wrist. You're going to have an abhorrent gap, and the problem is the curvature is far too much. It should be more slight. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. Profiling is incorrect, too bulky, too thick. Ratcheting mechanism works well, but again, my concern is the long-term durability, because the body of it, the internals, are not stainless steel. This is made from carbon fibre composite. It's a brittle material. But let's check the hinge pin of it. So it has a stainless steel pin, which is good, but again, my concern is long-term durability. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus. What we've got here is a 316L grade stainless steel pin, which has riveted ends, but it's going through carbon fibre composite. So inevitably, stainless steel is harder than carbon fibre composite, and therefore the holes are eventually going to become elongated or ovalised, and therefore it's going to become sloppy very quickly. And already, even though it's brand new, we have excess lateral, longitudinal, side-to-side, up and down play because of the poor tolerances. It's not a friction interference fit, it's sloppy. So the stainless steel pin, which is riveted either end, goes through a hole which is clearly too large. And you can see the problem is it's sloppy. This places the pin under excess shear load, and of course the hole, it will elongate inevitably because of the shear load on the pin. And eventually what will happen is the carbon fibre composite will crack or split around the elongated hole and fail. Let's check the right hand. Oh, it doesn't pivot on the right, it's fixed. Again, that's a negative because it doesn't articulate. And really, I think they've over-engineered this. And does it enhance the piece? No. Truth is, this is bulky and the ratcheting mechanism doesn't enhance the piece. Buckle and tang would be better. It's simple, it's reliable, it's durable, robust, enhances the comfort level and feel-good factor. You don't need on-the-fly adjustment with a buckle and tang, you simply select the correct hole. If your wrist expands, you move the buckle and tang. Simple. I dislike this, I think they've made a mistake with it. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 43mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 50mm, a thickness of 10.5mm and a lug width of 22mm. The bracelet tapers from 22mm at the lugs down to 18mm at the 2-button push butterfly clasp. 2-button push butterfly clasp is signed with a Formex emblem engraved with high definition engraving, and the 2 triggers or buttons are brushed satin finished and concentric CNC lathe tool machined on the ends. Very well finished, deburred very well. Nice firm spring loaded action, and they deploy freely. It's a handed butterfly clasp, so therefore one has to close the left hand portion first and then the right hand portion overlaps, as you can see, because this plate with the engraved emblem overlaps. So left hand portion first, right hand portion overlaps, snap shut with a nice positive click. Now, usually I'd be critical of a piece not using the Perfection Personified 20 to 16 taper. This uses the alternative industry standard 22 to 18. On this occasion I'm not going to be critical because this does have a large 43mm head of the piece, and it does need additional meat on the bracelet. A 20 to 16 taper wouldn't be enough meat. The bracelet would look undersized on a 43mm head of the piece. 22 to 18 is correct in this case, and I'm pleased that it's not a straight or parallel bracelet. 22 to 22 or 20 to 20. 22 to 18 gives a nice aggressive taper, so it reduces the meat and improves the aesthetic look of it. I previously reviewed the Essence 39 2 years ago, and that had the incorrect taper because it tapered from 20 down to 18 versus the Perfection Personified 20 to 16 taper, and I was critical of that. This does have a better aggressive taper, 22 to 18. I like it. So we have a flat sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished applied indices and silver mirror polished alpha handset. Now, I say mirror polished, but they're actually anodized, so they've got a tint. They look black or grey or anthracite, depending on the light condition. So they are mirror polished, but they're not mirror polished to a silver finish. So to clarify, they are anodized grey or anthracite, but they do have the metallic finish. They are polished versus satin finished or simply black PVD coated or DLC coated to be black. The dial has horizontal lines which are CNC machined into the dial, and the horizontal grooves add interest. So it's a textured dial, and I like the chaptering. Quality of the printing is excellent. High definition crisp printing of the Formex text logo. Essence chronometer at 6, and either side of the 6 o'clock index we have Swiss made, because Formex pieces are Swiss made and they use Swiss made calibers such as the Solita caliber SW200-1 chronometer grade. Date complication at 6, and one detail I like, and they deserve credit for this, is it's a thick textured dial. Often mid-tier microbrands make the mistake of using thick textured dials, and they have a rectangular date complication window. The problem with that is it permanently casts a shadow due to the thickness of the dial. The date wheel is sunk beneath the dial very deep, and you always get this permanent shadow which reduces the legibility and the clarity of the date complication. Formex have addressed this or corrected this, because what they've done is they've machined bevels into the left and the right hand side of the date window, and by machining the bevels on the left and the right hand side of the date window, that reduces the shadow, it increases the aperture, it increases the light entering the date window, and that reduces the shadow. So the single and the double Arabic numerals, which are black on the baby blue date wheel, they are clearly legible. The legibility is enhanced by the reduction of the shadow, and this is a good detail, the bevels. I really like that kind of attention to detail to the CNC machined dial. Another detail I like, and it's subtle but they deserve credit for, is the colour coding of the date wheel. More mid-tier microbrands should do this. They should follow this example. What we're looking at here is correct decision after correct decision, because the default option, or the industry standard, is to use a white date wheel with black Arabic numerals, or alternatively a black date wheel with white Arabic numerals, because the contrast is good between black and white. But this looks more aesthetically pleasing because we've got the baby blue dial, baby blue chaptering, perfect colour tone match. The date wheel is also baby blue. So we've got the three colour tone matches, chaptering, dial and also date wheel. And it blends very nicely because the date complication blends into the dial, but the black Arabic numerals still contrast very well. Both the singles and doubles have a high definition crisp font, they're not too thick and blurry, legibility is good. I like the symmetry of the dial versus it being an asymmetrical dial with a date complication at 3. They've made the correct decision by citing the date complication at 6 and therefore making the dial perfectly symmetrical. Double applied indices at 12 are good because one can immediately read the time and identify 12 because we have the double indices at 12 and single indices for the other hour marks. Alpha hands are correctly proportioned. The tip of the second hand extends all the way to the black minute ticks on the chaptering, so the second hand is long enough. The alpha hands are also correctly proportioned because the minute hand extends all the way to the applied indices and the hour hand reaches the tip of the indices. Correctly proportioned alpha handset, very aesthetically pleasing, and they're fully Lume with BGW9, as are the indices. I like the horizontal lines which are machined into the dial. The textured finish does give it some interest. The other thing I like about it is, just bear with me, I'm going to move the minute hand out of the way. The dial isn't over-branded with unnecessary text or specification. Often mid-tier microbrands have a tendency to print too much information on the dial. For example, this is a daily wear piece, it's not a dive piece. Therefore, we don't need to have 100 meters printed on the dial at 6. But often mid-tier microbrands will make that mistake. They'll print 3 lines or even 4 lines of text on the 6 o'clock position, and therefore the dial becomes cluttered, too busy, and really it spoils the aesthetics of a minimalist or clean dial. Formex don't make that mistake. We've got the applied Formex emblem in silver at 12 o'clock, Formex text logo, and that's balanced by the two lines of text, essence and chronometer. Just the right amount of information. They're right to print chronometer on the dial because they are very proud of it being COSC chronometer certified, and at this price point that is a very impressive achievement and they deserve credit. Essence chronometer is just right. So, this piece, like other Formex pieces, features a patented system, a patented case suspension system. So just bear with me, I'll show you on the crown guard side because you'll be able to visualise it better. If I push it up with my thumb on the sapphire crystal glazed exhibition case back, you can see the inner case is suspended on 4 spring-loaded shock absorbers, rather like the 4 shock absorbers on a car. And these 4 shock absorbers have springs, and the inner case is allowed to articulate or float independently from the outer case. So it sits on these 4 spring-loaded shock absorbers. Now, what's the purpose of this? Well, Formex developed this from the foundation of the brand in 1999. So this patented case suspension system is reliable and well proven from 1999 to the present day in 2025. It serves 2 purposes. First purpose is it isolates the movement from impact shock damage. So when the outer case is struck or impacted, it isolates the shock being transmitted from the outer case to the inner case because the movement is cased inside the inner case and it's suspended on the 4 spring-loaded shock absorbers. So when impact damage occurs when the outer case is struck, the shock damage is isolated by the outer case. It isn't transmitted through the 4 shock absorbers into the inner case. So that's one purpose. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. Other purpose is it allows the inner case to articulate, and I'll demonstrate this in the wrist shot. When you flex the wrist, what happens is your wrist presses against the exhibition case back, like so. And normally with a case, of course, the exhibition case back and the movement inside cannot move. It cannot articulate because it's not spring-loaded on 4 shock absorbers. This can. So with wrist pressure, for example, when you flex the wrist and the wrist pushes against the case back, it allows the movement inner case to move away from the wrist with a spring-loaded action, and then it returns back to where it was when you move the wrist again, when you articulate the wrist. So one could argue this enhances the comfort level and the feel-good factor because in the absence of on-the-fly adjustment, the spring-loaded action of the patented case suspension system allows the inner case to move up and down. So with wrist pressure against it, you don't need on-the-fly adjustment. For example, if your wrist expands when you're active or when the wrist expands in warmer weather, you don't need to adjust the bracelet with on-the-fly adjustment if the bracelet becomes tight, because what happens is if the wrist expands, what happens is it presses against the case back and the inner case moves away from the wrist with a spring-loaded action. So it's spring-loaded and it works very well. It's been in service, this design, which is patented since 1999. The only negative is it does make a sound, which is like a clicking sound. You can hear the 4 spring-loaded shock absorbers compress and also expand. So it does make a sound. Also, you can hear the friction of the metal-to-metal rubbing because, needless to say, the inner stainless steel case, which is made from solid 316L grade stainless steel, rubs against the outer 316L grade stainless steel case. So we do have some stainless steel to stainless steel friction occurring, and one does get the sound of metal to metal rubbing against each other. This is subjective. One could be critical of it and say, well, this is an irritating noise, but it depends on whether you notice it on wrist or not when it's articulating. Of course, it does work in terms of shock resistance. It is a credible alternative to insulating the movement itself with shock absorbers, and it's a novel feature, and this is a feature of Formex watches, and they patented it because it's unique. So those are the 2 purposes. Insulates the movement from shock damage caused by impact damage, and also allows articulation when the wrist flexes, as you can see. Works well. Right, so let's look at the bracelet in detail. Solid 316L grade stainless steel bracelet, and as you can see, articulates smoothly, doesn't feel stiff or kink, feels very refined, doesn't have excess longitudinal, lateral, side-to-side or up and down play, very smooth. An example to other mid-tier micro brands of how to get end-link execution correct. Let's check the other side of continuity. Silky smooth, this is fantastic. Articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play in any direction. Perfect interference fit between the spring bar going through the end link in the bracelet. Now, subjectively, one could be critical of the use of male end links versus female pivoted end links because it doesn't allow the end link in the bracelet to articulate beneath the tips of the lugs. I think Formex should consider updating this with a V2. Both the Essence 39 and this Essence 43 Splash version, they could machine a line across the male end link and make it a female pivoted end link because that would allow for extra articulation. It would allow the end link in the bracelet to pivot beneath the tips of the lugs. That would enhance the fit. But nonetheless, very well finished. Execution is excellent. Quality of the finishing to the bracelet is stellar. Beautiful longitudinal brushed satin finishing to the top side, underside and flanks. No sharp edges because we've got these large mirror polished bevels on the top edge and the low edge. Very well machined. Often bracelets have a sharp or crisp edge on the top edge or the low edge of the flanks, and of course that scratches the wrist. It feels abrasive, it feels rough and sharp. This does not have the problem. The large mirror polished bevels are aesthetically pleasing, but they also serve a purpose in deleting the sharp edges on the flanks. Doesn't pull arm hairs, which is good. Beautiful luster, nice fine grained satin finishing to it. Articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, feels very refined. So I like it, flows nicely, but it's not sloppy. Nice and tight. That's the benefit of using 1.6mm screw pins versus push pins. And I'm pleased to see they didn't use the production cost cutting measure of push pins at this price point, which would have been unacceptable. Screw pins are the industry standard in the mid-tier at €1,650 price point. Excellent bracelet, looks good, taper is good, it's aggressive, 22 to 18, balances the head of the piece, which is large at 43. And I really like the finishing. Let's check the other side for continuity. Articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, flows nicely, doesn't rattle, it's not a sloppy bracelet, doesn't have excess play, no sharp edge to the top edge or the low edge due to the large bevels machined on the flanks, beautiful luster to it, doesn't pull arm hairs, really smooth, but not sloppy. Excellent. So let's look at the clasp in detail. Now, the clasp has two features which I like. Often the problem with 2-button push butterfly clasp is the lack of micro adjustment. It's difficult to get the correct fit. Now, both halves open freely, solid mil 316L grade stainless steel internals as one would expect, so it's a butterfly clasp. Beautiful luster to the top side, underside and flanks, no sharp edges to the top edge or the low edge, doesn't have sharp corners to the inner corners, which is good. It's well made. One detail I like, and there's only one other brand I've seen do this, and I want to give due credit to Formex about this. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. If you look at the ball bearings in the butterfly clasp, they're white. They're not silver. So this indicates that they're made from ceramic. This uses ceramic ball bearings versus 316L grade stainless steel ball bearings. Now, I've only ever seen one other brand do this, and it's Tudor. Tudor use ceramic ball bearings in the Black Bay Heritage, Black Bay 58, Black Bay 54 and the Pelagos. The benefit of using ceramic ball bearings is ceramic is a harder material than 316L grade stainless steel. And ball bearings, of course, are subject to daily wear and tear. They wear down in diameter, and therefore the clasp doesn't become as tight. It becomes sloppy with daily wear and tear as the ball bearing inevitably wears down. But by using ceramic, as per Tudor, ceramic is very hard. It's a very good bearing material because it's hard and therefore it wears very hard. So the good thing about it is, in 5 years or 10 years' time, this butterfly clasp will always snap shut with a nice positive click, because the ceramic ball bearing isn't going to wear down like a steel ball bearing and become sloppy and loose. Ceramic is harder. Tudor is the only other brand I've seen do it, and for example, I'm going to level criticism at brands like Omega and Rolex because they do not use ceramic ball bearings, which is a curiosity because it's a superior ball bearing material. Rolex do use ceramic ball bearings in their movements, the chronology calibers such as the 3235 used in my Starbucks, but they do not use ceramic ball bearings in the Glide Lock clasp, for example, but Tudor do. Which is ironic because Tudor are less expensive than Rolex. For example, the Black Bay 58 is less expensive than the Submariner Dates. But there we are. Formex deserve credit. This is a mid-tier piece. We're not looking at a high-tier piece at €5,000 plus. We're looking at a mid-tier piece between 500 and 5,000. The only other brand that does it in the mid-tier is Tudor. Ceramic ball bearings, very good. Now, there's another notable enhancement. This does not have on-the-fly adjustment, which is a given because it's a butterfly clasp. But what Formex do is they appreciate that the wrist might expand when the collector is active or in warmer weather. So as an alternative to a ratcheting mechanism clasp, what they do is they have a extension. and it deploys, just bear with me, I'll do it, as you can see, very freely. And what we have here is 5mm, rather like a Rolex EasyLink style extension. It deploys smoothly and it clicks back in to the right hand portion with a nice positive click, because we've got ceramic ball bearings which are spring loaded. And you simply grab the two outer links and press it downwards and pull. So it deploys freely. Works very well. So for example, if your wrist expands by 5mm when you're active or in warmer weather, you simply open up the butterfly clasp as so, and you can deploy the right hand portion of it. And it closes back in, it snaps in with a nice positive click. And it deploys freely. You simply apply light pressure to the two outer links, gripping the left hand portion, pull it out, and it deploys. This is very well engineered. Often it's a problem with butterfly clasps because they lack this kind of on-the-fly adjustment. There isn't room for a ratcheting mechanism. But you can see it overlaps just the same when it's deployed, and we have this 5mm gap. So 5mm of on-the-fly adjustment on a butterfly clasp is excellent. And this is innovative. It's the only brand I've seen do this, and they do it well. So I really like it. And then of course when the wrist contracts, when it cools back down again, you simply fold it back in, snaps in with a nice positive click. Engineering is good. Ceramic ball bearings are refined and of course durable. Finishing is good. Now let's check the hinge pins. Left hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Inner left hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Right hand inner hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Finally, right hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink. This is excellent. An example to other mid-tier microbrands of how to get build quality, quality control, tolerances, finishing and execution correct. Left hand outer, left hand inner, right hand outer. All four hinge pins are interference friction fits. This is refined. This is the kind of interference friction fits one would expect with a butterfly clasp on a high-tier piece made in Switzerland at €5,000+, but we're looking at a mid-tier piece costing €1,650. It's outstanding. Snap shut with a nice positive click. Right-hand portion overlaps. Nice positive click. Feels reliable, feels robust, feels refined. Right, so let's test the crown execution. Now, push-pull crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 metres. Strictly speaking, this does not need a screw-down crown. We're not looking at a dive piece, but however, it's the industry standard for mid-tier Swiss-made pieces with 100 metres to use a screw-down crown versus a push-pull crown. Push-pull crowns are beneficial if you have a mechanical manual wind movement piece, because in the closed position you want to manually wind it. With an automatic, such as this piece powered by the Sellita Calibre SW200-1 with a rotor, a screw-down crown is beneficial. It's a superior hermetic seal to a push-pull crown. 100 metres is strong specification for a daily wear piece. Strictly speaking, this only needs 50 metres because it's daily wear versus being a dive piece. But however, it's 100 metres. They really shouldn't have cut production costs in order to maximise profit margin per piece and had a push-pull crown. I always regard a push-pull crown as inferior, and it's acceptable at in the low tier for a daily wear piece between €0 and €500. When you get to mid-tier and Swiss made between 500 and 5,000, it has to be a screw-down crown. That's just the way it is. But nonetheless, in the closed position, one can manually wind the Sellita Calibre SW200-1 automatic to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. So it feels smooth to manually wind, doesn't feel rough or gritty. There's no discernible difference in manually winding the ETA 2824-2 and the SW200-1 because the latter is a clone of the former. Pulling it out to the first click position, just bear with me, I'm going to move the minute hand out of the way first and then you'll see it better. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. So if you look at the date window at 6 o'clock, you can see the quick set complication works as one expects. It clicks over with a nice positive click. Both the single and the double Arabic numerals are clearly legible, and as I've detailed, they benefit from the bevels machined on the left and the right hand flanks of the date complication because that removes the shadow. It allows for more aperture, more light to enter the date wheel, and therefore it reduces the shadow effect. So legibility is good and the alignment is correct, left and right and high and low. It's perfectly central. So singles and the doubles are clearly legible. Nice light clicking action to it. To put it into perspective, It's a lighter clicking quickset complication than on the NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with. That has a heavy clicking sensation, which I actually really like. But the SW200-1 clicks over with a nice positive click, although it's light. Putting it out to the second click position hacks the movement. If you look at the second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead. Therefore, it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with this Elite Caliber SW200-1 automatic. We're now in the time setting position. Feels smooth to rotate the alpha hands, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. Minimal friction to the gearing. The gears mesh very well. Build quality, quality control, tolerances and machining of the teeth on the gearing is good. Feels very smooth. I like it. Pleasant to set the time. Slight back play in the movement, but it's necessary. Noel crown is correctly proportioned. One can get good purchase with one's index finger and thumb. Mirror polish to a good standard. And we've got a large chamfer which deletes the sharp tips to the Noel teeth. And it's signed and engraved with high definition engraving with a Formex emblem. So pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click and that restarts the movement. The second hand begins to sweep around the dial at the characteristic smooth 4Hz sweep. Aesthetically, I prefer the smooth sweep of a 4Hz movement versus a 3Hz such as the NH35A, which has a stutter or judder to the second hand. 4Hz has a nice smooth sweep. So push-pull crown is a disappointment. I'd prefer to see screw-down crown, but it feels smooth to manually wind. Hacking works well, quick set date complication works well, setting the time works well, minimal backplay. It's refined. Quality of the crown finishing is good, it's correctly proportioned. With regards to the bezel, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel. Has longitudinal brushed satin finishing to the top edge, and then the flat profile to the outer portion is mirror polished to a flawless standard, correctly proportioned. It allows the flat sapphire crystal to project slightly above it with a large bevel, and the bevel on the edge of the sapphire crystal catches the light. So it's aesthetically pleasing, and also I like the way it has these scallops which allow for the hex head screws for the inner case to be screwed down. So to the full shock absorbers. So very well executed and very well polished. Even the scallops for the screw heads are mirror polished to the same flawless standard as the flat profile to the edge. Case is solid 316L grade stainless steel. Angular profile to the lugs, which looks brutalist or Bauhaus design, and the tips of the lugs have bevels. They've been deburred and chamfered very well. Angular bevels which run the full length of the case from lug to lug, and the angular bevels, they mark the transition between the top of the angular lugs and the flanks, and they have a mirror polished bevel which deletes the sharp edges. So aesthetically pleasing. I like the angular profile, nice curved undercuts to the flanks, doesn't have thick slab sides, it's been deleted. So nice large mirror polished chamfer on the underside of the case or bevel, and that deletes the sharp edge to the undercuts to the flanks. So it's deburred and chamfered very well. This is excellent. I would describe this as high tier level finishing to the case. It really is €5,000+ price point level finishing. With regards to the brushed satin finishing and the mirror polished bevels, this is the kind of refinement one expects with a high tier piece at €5,000, not a mid tier piece costing €1,650. Bezel is well finished, case is well finished. Let's look at the case back. So exhibition case back is glazed with sapphire crystal, and it does a good job of displaying the chronometer grade SW200-1. So to clarify, chronometer grade and top grade SW200-1s are decorated. The bridges to the movement are decorated with pelage finishing, and the movement is decorated with blued screws. We also have a skeletonized rotor which is signed with Swiss made Formex emblem, and also BLBN, which is where Formex pieces are manufactured. Very aesthetically pleasing. I like the use of blued screws and also like the pelage finishing. This is something one doesn't get with lower grades of SW200-1. So to remind you, there are 4 grades of SW200-1. Standard grade, elaborate grade, chronometer grade and top grade. Only the top grade and chronometer grades have pelage finishing and blued screw decoration. This is chronometer grade. It's excellent. Also like that Formex haven't just used the standard default sterile rotor as supplied by Solita. This is skeletonized and they've signed it with Swiss made Formex emblem and BLBN, which is where they're made. It does add interest to it. Nice to see a signed rotor used on a piece rather than just the standard Solita rotor used on the lower grades such as the standard and elaborate grade. Beautiful decoration to it. Sapphire crystal glazing does an excellent job of displaying it. The stainless steel portion of the screwed down case back provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters. It's very low profile. This is the benefit. 100 meters of hermetic seal is good. Nice to see an exhibition case back rather than a solid stainless steel case back as a production cost cutting measure. Concentric CNC lathe tool machining to the stainless steel portion, and it's engraved with a specification and reference number for the piece with high definition engraving. But the benefit is it's very flat. It's not a deep bubble back case back. Still does provide adequate clearance between the sapphire crystal glazing and the rotor, which is skeletonized, but doesn't add a lot of thickness to the piece. What I like about this piece above all else is how thin it is. This is only 10.5, and that is impressive because it's 100 meters with a flat sapphire crystal and exhibition case back, which is sapphire crystal glazed. One would expect this to be 12 plus, powered by the SW200-1. A daily wear piece that's only 10.5. 10.5 is the kind of thickness one would expect with a mechanical manual wind piece or a quartz powered piece. If this were quartz powered in 10.5, that wouldn't be impressive. If it were manual wind in 10.5, that would not be impressive. But it is impressive when you have a rotor which adds thickness to a caliber, and an SW200-1 piece, I would expect this to be 12. 10.5 is excellent with 100 meters. So screwed down case back is excellent, and the finishing is stellar. The end links are a good tight fit to the head of the piece, quick release spring bars rather than standard spring bars, and they've done a very good job of the levers. They're precision machined in the milled slots, and they are secured with 2 flathead screws. Quality of the end link engineering is outstanding. The underside to the head of the piece is concentric CNC lathe tool machined. The tips of the lugs have bevels which are large, they delete the sharp corners, and there are large mirror polished bevels on the undercuts. So very high tier level finishing, €5,000+ price point level finishing. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now just bear with me, the butterfly clasp is handed, so I need to close the left hand portion first and then the right hand portion overlaps because this plate, which is signed, overlaps with a Formex emblem, as you can see. So as you can see, 2 button push triggers or buttons on the flanks are not too large. They don't stick out too far, but they're large enough to be proud enough to get good purchase when you depress with your thumb and index finger. Nice low profile butterfly clasp. Curvature is correct, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist. I do like the 5mm of on the fly adjustment. I also like the ceramic ball bearings. Taper is good. Now, if this were the 39 I previously reviewed, the Essence 39, I was critical of the bracelet taper. So to remind you, the Essence 39 has an incorrect taper. It did not have the perfection personified 20 to 16 taper I always refer to. It had a 20 to 18, and that was far too much meat on the bracelet for the 39 version of the Essence. This is the 43, it's a larger head of the piece. Therefore, I'm not going to be critical of it not using 20 to 16. That would look undersized. There wouldn't be enough meat on the bracelet to balance the large 43 head of the piece. 22 to 18 is the other industry standard, and this is correct. 22 to 18 is an aggressive taper, not a gradual straight taper, it's an aggressive taper. Plenty of meat deleted across the length. 22 at the lugs, 18 at the 2 button push butterfly clasp. It's correct for 43. Needless to say, this is a very large piece. Dominates the wrist. So straight away I would say if you are a collector with a 6 to 7 inch wrist, it's too large with too much wrist presence. It's far too hefty at 167 grams to be comfortable on a smaller wrist. If you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, clearly the Essence 39 is the correct choice. If you have a large wrist, 8 inches plus, you may enjoy the wrist presence and the domination of the 43mm head of the piece. It's a large case, but it's deceptive. Although it's large diameter at 43, as I've detailed, above all else, what I really like about this piece is it's very low profile and flat. 10.5 is exceptional for an SW200-1. What we're looking at here is correct decision after correct decision, because Formex could have used a double dome sapphire crystal, or they could have used a box top hat style crystal to give the piece a vintage aesthetic versus contemporary, but that would have added 2mm of thickness. It would have increased it from 10.5 to 12.5, for example. That still would have been below 13, but bear in mind it is a large 43 head of the piece. It would have looked too thick and felt too thick, rather like a slab of 316L grade stainless steel. The angular profile to the lugs means it wraps around the wrist. The curvature of the undercuts to the flanks also is good because there's a minimal gap beneath the tip of the angular lugs. The only negative is we do have a gap beneath the end links in the bracelet, and as I've detailed, this is the area that they need to refine. I'd like to see a V2 version of the Essence, both the 39 and the 43. If they use female pivoted end links, that would allow the end link in the bracelet to articulate better than the male end links, because we have this rectangular slab in the centre section of the male end link, and that prevents the end link of the bracelet articulating and closing up that gap. Visually, it doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing and comfort level is diminished by it. A female pivotal end link with a line across this rectangular slab in the male end link, that would solve the problem. Very easy to correct. Disappointing that Formex have not refined this, because they've been producing watches in Switzerland since 1999. We're not looking at a new microbrand here. So they've been making bracelets for a long time, since 1999. One would think that they would upgrade from the male end link to female pivotal links, which is now the industry standard for microbrands. That would refine the fits. But nonetheless, lug to lug measurement is good. 43mm case, 50mm lug to lug. Now, 48 is the sweet spot. You'll know this from my previous reviews, because 48 lug to lug is the perfect sweet spot, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist, respectively. At 50mm, it's 2mm longer than the perfect sweet spot of 48. This would fit better if it had a 48mm sweet spot lug to lug. 50 is slightly too long. Even on my large 8-inch wrist, you can see the tips of the lugs have some overhang and we have some gap. If they shorten this up to 48, that would delete some of the gap and shorten up the case, because you can see, even with a curved undercut to the flanks and the angular profile to the lugs, it's a long case. Also adds too much meat to the head of the piece, because it's 2mm too long. And it increases it to 167 grams with all the links in this bracelet. One thing I want to clarify is Formex actually made this bracelet to fit my 8-inch wrist. They offer a service, and I want to give due credit to Formex here, because Pequenet are the only other brand I know that do this. They make bracelets specifically to fit the size of the collector. So when you order this piece, they offer a service where they will make the bracelet to your wrist size. You can specify from 6 inches up to 9 inches. And they will size the bracelet in centimetres or in inches exactly to your wrist size. So Formex asked me what my wrist size was, and I said it was 8 inches, which is 20 centimetres. This bracelet fits my wrist perfectly. I can just slide an index finger beneath the bracelet and clasp at all times, which is the correct sizing method, as you'll know from my previous reviews. This allows for wrist expansion in warmer weather or when one is active, but it's now sized for my 8-inch wrist. There are enough removable links on the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side to size this bracelet down to a minimum 6-inch wrist size, and they can make the bracelet up to a maximum 9-inch wrist size. 6 to 9 is a huge variation. Majority of collectors have a 6 to 7.5-inch wrist, therefore this bracelet will suffice. Now, as I've discussed, the negative of butterfly clasps is often they don't have micro adjustment. This does have 5mm of on-the-fly adjustment, which is good. They also include some half links and a full link in the bracelet, and this means you can refine the fit, which is good. I think they could also refine this by adding quarter links, because the links are like half links either side, but if they added quarter links, one on the 6, one on the 12 side, that would mean you could centralise the buttons on the clasp and also get the perfect fits, because sometimes adding or subtracting one full link, and on these links, they're like half links, it doesn't give the perfect fit. The clasp is off centre, or it feels slightly too tight or too loose with a butterfly clasp. Quarter links would refine the fit. We have this large one full link, as you can see, and then we also have half links in the rest of the bracelet, so it is possible to refine the fit. It's a good butterfly clasp, and I do like the 5mm of on-the-fly adjustment. Wrist presence is good, it does dominate the wrist. Even on my large 8-inch wrist, you can see it is a large piece. Comfort level is surprisingly good. Feels balanced. It is a heavy piece at 167, but one has to be realistic and magnanimous. It's going to be over 150 with a 43 case. I think it's a shame they did not make a 41mm version of the Essence. They make a 39, which I previously reviewed. 39 is good for 6 to 7 inch wrists. 39 is also good for a 7 to 8. 43 I think is too large. 41 would be suitable for larger 8-inch wrists without having so much wrist dominance, so much wrist presence. Because even on my large 8-inch wrist, 43 is a very large piece. I think a 39 and a 41 would have been a correct choice. 39 and 43. 43 is too large at the upper end. Even for an 8-inch plus wrist size, 43 is a very large piece. But it's nice and low profile. That's the positive. It's only 10.5. I just think it's a shame they didn't reduce the lug to the sweet spot of 48. Comfort level is surprisingly good. Feel good factor is good. But I would say it's not going to fit you comfortably if you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist. It's really only suitable for very large wrists of 8 inches plus. Even a 6 to 7 inch wrist, you're going to find it very large. The truth is, the Formex 39 I previously reviewed gives a better fit. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. We're clearly looking at 5 to 6 layers of BGW9 on the applied stick indices and the applied alpha handset. Now, one has to be magnanimous, or one has to be realistic. This is stick indices with alpha hands, which are rather like the profile of baton hands. They don't allow for a large area or a large plot as per Mercedes hands or snowflake hands used on a dive piece, and the proportions of the stick indices do not allow for a large plot as per the Submariner style indices, which have more depth and also they are larger on a dive piece. So one has to be realistic. Double applied indices are clearly legible, good orientation to the dial. It's good that they've got an index beneath the date complication at 6 rather than deleting it. We've got half an index, so we can still get the symmetry of the dial. Colour tone match is good. In daylight, the BGW9 looks white. It doesn't look more cream on the dial or cream on the handset. Same white tone in daylight, same blue tone in the dark. So 5 to 6 layers is the industry standard. I'm pleased to see they haven't used the cost-cutting measure of 2 to 3 on the handset and 3 to 4 on the dial, as so many mid-tier microbands do as a production cost-cutting measure in order to maximise profit margin per piece. But however, it's good performance. I think it's acceptable for a daily wear piece. One has to be realistic. This is not a dive piece, and of course alpha hands like baton hands don't allow for a large plot or a large area to be applied. The stick indices also don't have a large area, but this is 5 to 6 and the BGW9 is excellent. So the exciter is potent, glowing for a good length of time. One can clearly read the time in the dark. It works well. Right, so let's discuss the movement use because it's my favourite aspect of the piece. So you'll all be familiar with the Sellita Calibre SW200-1, which is a clone of the ETA 2824-2. So to remind you, the Calibre SW200-1 comes in 4 grades: standard grade, elaborate grade, chronometer grade and top grade. This uses the chronometer grade. Has 26 joules. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Has hand winding and hacking, which use for complications. Quick set date complication works well, as I've demonstrated. 41-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. This one is COSC chronometer certified, and as I showed you, to prove it, they also include the COSC chronometer certificate, and it details the mean daily rate in different positions of this movement is only 0.06 seconds per day mean daily rate in the different positions, well within the -4 to +6 chronometer accuracy of -4 to +6. Good to see the certificate included to back it up, and of course then they're allowed to print chronometer on the dial because this is a certified chronometer by COSC. So to clarify, the stated accuracy of the chronometer grade is -4 to +6, but they're regulating this in 5 positions, and as you can see, the mean daily rate of this one is 0.06 seconds per day. It's well within the -4 to +6. Excellent that it's regulated in 5 positions to -4 to +6. Excellent that this one has attained 0.06 seconds per day. Perfect accuracy. This is the benefit of a chronometer grade SW200-1. It's a level above the standard grade and the elaborate grade. It's decorated. Pelage finishing to the bridges, blued screws, and we've got a signed skeletonized rotor. But apart from the decoration, the regulation is more accurate. And technically it's a better grade of movement because of the shock resistance is improved, and I think they deserve credit because they could have used the production cost cutting measure of a standard grade or simply elaborate grade versus the chronometer grade, and of course the cost certification adds value to the piece but it also increases profit margin, increases production cost per piece. It justifies the price point of the piece. Excellent movement, accurate, 41-hour power reserve and -4 to +6 cost chronometer accuracy with a certificate. No negatives to it whatsoever. The SW200-1 is one of my personal favourites, as you know. Manual winding works well, hacking works well, setting the time, quick set complication works well. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss calibre. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. I'm going to declare this excellent quality, and I'm going to declare the value as okay. I'm not going to say the value is good, and I'm not going to say the value is excellent. Now, one has to appreciate this does come with COSC chronometer certification, and it does come with a chronometer grade SW200-1. That does add value to the piece. But at €1,650, this does face some stiff competition from other mid-tier microbrands that are also making Swiss-made pieces and also using the SW200-1, including top grade and chronometer grade versions. Now they don't have cross chronometer certification, but they are using chronometer grade SW200-1s at a lower price point. That's something to bear in mind. So the question is, how much is the cost chronometer certification worth to you? How much is it worth to have chronometer printed on the dial? Because other mid to micro brands are using chronometer and top grade movements. Yes, they're not certifying it by COSC, but of course the movement is chronometer grade accurate. So 1,650 I think is okay value, but I think quality is excellent. And I really like the use of details like the ceramic ball bearings in the butterfly clasp. And of course the decoration to the chronometer grade movement is very beautiful. With regards to the quality control, build quality and tolerances, machining, finishing, excellent. One thing I really like about it is it's top grade, it's high tier level finishing to the case, the bezel and the case back. Excellent, €5,000+ level finishing. So I'm going to declare it excellent quality, and I'm going to declare the value as okay at €1,650. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Formex Essence 43 Splash Baby Blue. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.